What in the 20s is going
in the
on?
20s,
Think about
yeah.
the 20s.
What
Baby,
plenty, plenty.
What in the 20s is
I
going
am here for
on?
my 20s, baby.
This is the 20s.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zamam Kize, and this is What's in the 20s, a podcast where you listen to me grow through its baby. On today's episode, we're going to be speaking all about love. It's really interesting because I feel like I keep getting asked on this question, in the comments and stuff like that. Like, what would you say love is? What is your idea of love? And I think, we're going to talk about it as many times as we need to be quite honest. We're going to talk about it as many new ways we discover or find out, like, a new meaning to it, a new variation of it. I mean, it's so complex, it's so big, it's ever expanding. And I don't know, I don't think there's like one universal understanding that I feel like everyone can agree to that's like, okay, yeah, that is what it is, or one like sentence of what it is. I think that it is an amalgamation of many things, and it's quite interesting because for the most part, I think we get it wrong. For the most part, I think we get confused. I think we know what it is. I think we hope we know what it is, and so we say it. I think I've said it many times when I didn't even quite understand what it was that I was saying, or I didn't even necessarily mean what it was that I was saying, but it just felt like the right thing to say because, we're kind of like socialized and conditioned to say it in certain moments and in certain timings and to certain people just, right? And even though I guess we can all agree that there's like very varying variations of love, like the platonic kind, or love and being able to be compassionate and kind to a stranger, someone you've never met, and just extending kindness towards them, patience towards somebody. I think that's like an extension of love. I think that, there's love between your parents, your family, love in the romantic sense, But yeah, I think overall, a lot of us struggle to really identify with what this is that we call love. And very often I think we can speak about like how there's kind of like two ways of it, right? Love, the feeling versus the action, right? Some of us, we feel this intense thing inside of us and we think, oh my goodness, like this must be love. We may have this thing growing and brewing within and makes us feel like, oh my gosh, I've never felt like this before. This must be love. This feeling of excitement towards someone, this feeling of care towards someone, this feeling of just wanting to wrap yourself around someone, shows so much just like a nurturing spirit around someone, and we tell ourselves that this must mean like, like I love this person because of just the joy that I feel when I'm around this person. And then we speak about it as like the action, right? The things we do and we say that justifies love because I'm spending time with this person. It must mean I love them because I'm buying this thing for this person, this gift for this person. It must mean I love them because I am saying these things to this person. It must equal or equate. Oh, I love this. You know what I'm saying? It's like we justify the way that we feel and the things that we do, and we say this plus this must equal love, right? And even though I don't think that's necessarily wrong, I think that it can cause certain problems, and that's precisely part of what I would say is a lot of the issue with modern day dating and the way that we choose to see love in today's time, right? Is we have expectations that if I do this and if I say this, then it must mean love would be the outcome of, this entire process. And that often isn't necessarily the case, right? And our expectations really let us down all the time. Not all, okay, maybe not say all the time, most of the time, a lot of the time. Our expectations of what we think it should be, what we think it should feel like, what we thought it would be like to be in love, to see love, to feel love, to know love, to, be surrounded by love. And seeing that not be met or not be reciprocated or whatever it is, it makes you think, okay, well then what's wrong with me? Am I inadequate? Is there something that I'm doing wrong? Is there something that I missed? Like we kind of work within like a logical kind of system of thinking that if I do it like this, it must equal that. It must equate to that. And we also have this problem of comparing. We compare what our journey of love with someone looks like to the next person. And we say if it doesn't look like that, then it mustn't, then it must mean that it's not love. That if it doesn't replicate that of somebody you like, look up to or whatever it is, then it must mean it's not love. That if it doesn't just mimic and feel or look or whatever it is, like what you're seeing other people get to experience, your neighbors, your parents, your whatever it is, then you feel like, okay, then it must mean I don't love this person, right? I think a lot of the times, like people who have grown up in like in a nuclear household with both their parents being married and all the rest, especially in a healthy type of relationship, we might want our relationship to look like that, right? To look like what our parents have or whatever it is. And we feel like the absence of that must mean that this is not love that we are experiencing. And that's why like comparison will consistently be a thief of your joy, really, because you keep wanting it to look like something, and that goes back to the expectations of what you thought it would be. And I think that also having like online dating and stuff, right? So we're literally like swiping through human beings. It's not a toy, it's not a grocery out like item that you're looking through or whatever it is. It's a human being that you're scrolling saying I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like. And we miss a lot of cues when we do that. Like, in person, we don't necessarily always go for someone based on looks, right? Because sometimes you might speak to them and realize, oh my gosh, you're so funny. I actually like spending time with you. Let's talk some more. Oh my gosh, you're actually so intelligent, whatever. Let's hang out some more. Like there's so many other things that allow people to bypass the whole, am I guess, attracted to you, physically attracted to you, whatever it is, because there's so many other components that come into place, right? That we miss a lot of that when we spend a lot of time online dating, of course, right? Because it's just like we're just scrolling through people, and we miss a lot of whether or not you're compatible, whether your energies make sense, whether you feel safe around this person, at peace around this person, at ease with this person, all of that. A lot of that gets missed when, you're going through it on your phone, and like, and no hate to anyone that does online dating and stuff, but I'm saying that there's pros and cons to it. And we feel like our immediate attraction to someone, and because we match and because we had a good date or whatever it is, surely it must mean, there's love brewing, whether it's a slow burn, a fast burn, I don't even know what it is, but it's just like you get so caught up in that like excitement, that thrill of it all. Like I met someone and we just get along and this and this and this, and it must mean, and that's what I'm saying. We go back to the expectation, we go back to the feeling, and the feeling versus the verb. And I think that it makes us a bit complacent, to be quite honest, especially because we can't sustain it long term. It's like, yes, what you're feeling initially and all the rest, and the joy and the infatuation and being besotted and excited and thrilled, can you maintain that after the honeymoon phase? Can you maintain that the more you get to know someone, the more you spend time with someone? And I honestly could argue that someone, showing up for you, someone telling you, spending time with you, buying you gifts, someone can do all of those things and still not love you. The presence of those things happening doesn't mean, oh my gosh, this person does like me. I mean, love me. They might like you, they might be interested in you, they might enjoy spending time with you, but it doesn't necessarily mean love is present in that space. And I think that's what can get so disappointing, right? It's like, but you did all of this for me, but you act like this around me, but you're happy around me. What do you mean you don't love me? You get so frustrated because you don't understand. But literally, someone could buy you gifts day in and day out, purely because they have the access to be able to do those things, because they have the money, the funds, the resources, the whatever it is to be able to do that it's kind of like nothing. And that's also why I say that, the problem with the way that we see love nowadays, and why it distorts the whole thing, is that we lose trust. Because say the cliche with someone who has the resources, the money, and all of that to just buy you expensive gifts and stuff. If they can easily do it for you, they're most probably or most likely able to easily do it for somebody else. And it's not necessarily that they do it for you because they think you're special. It's just something that they're able to have, they're able to do, and that's why that whole saying, if he wanted to, he would, doesn't necessarily um count for everything, because if he wanted to, he would if he could, and there's so many other factors that play into it. But yeah, if people are able to, if people are, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean that because I love you, I'm doing this. It just means that because I know it'll make you happy, or because I know that I can do it, or, then I'm going to do it for you. It's the same with someone spending quality time with you. Sometimes it really just means that they have time on their hands. But it doesn't mean that someone who isn't able to make that time because they're so busy with work, with this, with other things that are caught on their plate, and they aren't able to give that time to you, it doesn't mean that that person doesn't love you. It could mean that they're working this hard to be able to provide for you, to be able to show up for you and all the rest. And they love you so much that they're willing to make the sacrifice of not spending so much time with you so that they can pour into other things that they know will be able to take care of you in the long run. And that's what I'm saying. You can't necessarily say that just because someone is like responding to certain love languages, like quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, and I'm missing physical touch, just because they do that it necessarily means they love you. They just know that this is enough to keep you, this is enough to keep you engaged, this is enough to keep you responsive and all the rest. And I think what it does is it creates a sense of codependency, and that's where we get love twisted. Is now love may sound like love when someone says it, I love you, but what it could be doing is triggering their abandonment issues, right? So because they don't want you to leave them, because they don't want to experience loneliness, because they don't want to be alone and all of that kind of stuff, they say that in hopes that it's enough to keep you around, enough to make you stay. And they might genuinely believe that love is what they're experiencing. They might genuinely believe that this is it. But the reason they're saying it is a protective mechanism, because they can't stomach the idea of losing you. They can't stomach the reality that you guys might not be compatible, that this might not work, that this, that, and the rest, you know what I'm saying? And so we say, oh my God, I love you, and and we take it in, we eat it up, we soak it all up and think, oh my gosh, this person really cares about me. But what they're doing is they're keeping themselves in a safe space. They don't want to be alone. Codependency is this thing of like this feeling of I can't do life without this person. And that's a dangerous place to be, to think that you are less than or nothing or whatever it is without someone else. You need to always think of someone else as an addition to your life experience, someone that makes your life full and whole and all the rest, this idea that somebody, I guess, completes you will put you in a very difficult place, because what happens if you lose this person? What happens if this person passes away? Something tragic happens. Does that mean that you're less of a being, that you're less valuable, that you're less worthy of being loved and all the rest, And that's why when you attach your identity to somebody else, to someone who could change their mind, change their actions, change the way that they do things, you're in a very vulnerable place. And I would not suggest that for you. I do not want that for you, because the feeling of heartbreak and disappointment, it's so difficult to recover from when you've invested your personality, your identity, who you are, your plans, your future, all of that into somebody else. And so I just think that sometimes when people say I love you, it really is because they don't know how to do life outside of you, do life without you. Sometimes people say I love you because of how you make them feel. And that's really tough, right? To stomach, to think about. And let me explain that a bit more. Sometimes because you make someone feel good, you make someone feel strong, you make someone feel like they're brave, courageous, exciting, thrilling, not boring, whatever it is, they like being around you. They like what it is that you do for them. They like this idea that with you, they can be great. With you, they can be the best versions of themselves or what they feel, because that's what you see them to be. That's the pedestal that you put them on. And so they absorb all that energy and they'll say things like, I love you, but it's purely because of how you make them feel. And so when you don't make them feel good, when you don't, I guess, massage their egos or whatever it is, they may respond in the worst case scenarios in violent ways, because they feel like, why aren't you making me feel the way that I expect you to make me feel, especially if you say that I love you. And it's like they may respond in ways that just show anger or disappointment or frustration or whatever it is, because maybe you're upset with them about something that they've done, or you're not praising them in a way that they thought you would, or you're not, they all of a sudden say stuff like I don't feel like you see me or you rate me or whatever it is. But it's just a moment in time where you're disagreeing with them about something and they can't have that, But when you make them feel good and nice and you show up for them and you do things for them and whatever it is, they're going to, feel like, what, I might actually love this person because they just love the joys of being around you. If you give them status, social status in society or whatever it is, because maybe you're attractive or you're popular or whatever it is. So being with you gives them a step up. Being with you makes them seem attractive, makes them seem cooler, nicer, greater, whatever it is. They're going to attach themselves to you and they might confuse that feeling. And I mean in a genuine sense. It might not even be that they're trying to manipulate you or whatever it is. They might genuinely feel like the experience they're having is love because nobody else makes them feel like this. Nobody else treats them like this. Nobody else, does this for them. And so it must mean that what I'm experiencing in this space with this person equals love. And that's not always the case. And I think that if we had to start being honest about love, I would truly say that it's not necessarily fun. Like love isn't always fun. It is rarely ever convenient. The way that I think of love, and I think I've said this over and over and over, first and foremost, it is not self-serving. I think that love is a responsibility. I think it is a duty to someone. I think it is an honor to someone, and it is being able to consider another person. It is being able to put someone's needs above yours because you want what's best for them, even if it's not you. It's being able to actually set yourself aside and objectively look at a situation involving the person you love and consider what are the best outcomes or the best solutions for this person. What do I need to do to best make this situation work? Love is, and I'll always go back to speaking about Christ, right? Because if we say that God is love and love is God, the fact that God was able to sacrifice his only son, because he loved us so much, to be like, okay, I'm going to let my son die so that you don't have to live in sin anymore. You can be set free from all of that. That's what I mean. Like love is just this idea, this ability to, it's almost like self-sacrifice really. And, show up even, perhaps especially when it's inconvenient for you. Being able to, choose someone. Very often we always think like, can I do better? Should I, have I chosen the right person? Am I with the right person or whatever it is? Yeah. But it's more about, can you choose this person? Over and over and over again, consistently so, even when you don't want to, even when you don't feel like it, even on your worst days, on their worst days, are you able to consistently make the effort to choose and show up for this person, and like that's what I mean, like when I say it's a responsibility and a duty, I think about how even if my parents had like a bit of a disagreement or whatever it is, things were still always done, people were still fed. Like the duties and the responsibilities of a partner and all the rest were still met, because even though I may be in this emotional state, I understand that because I love you, I am in service to you. right? And I don't mean that, I don't take it in a negative connotation where you feel like, oh, am I like slaving away from someone? No, not at all, not in the slightest. It's just your ability to commit to someone, um, even when it's difficult, perhaps especially, most especially when it's difficult, most especially when it doesn't suit you, whatever it is, because you're extending past what you would want, past what makes sense to you, and protecting and nurturing somebody else and this love that you've shared with that person or built with that person. And that's why, like, if somebody you love is saying that they would like to leave you, they would like to end this relationship or whatever it is, instead of responding like, but I love you, you can't leave me, we can't do this, we love each other and all of that, you're able to recognize that if this is what is truly at its core best for this person, if this is what will make this person happy, if this is what will bring this person growth, fulfillment, all of that, then I am willing to separate myself from this attachment. I'm willing to distance myself. We don't speak enough about being able to love someone from a distance, being able to choose love. I mean, love doesn't necessarily mean that it's in proximity to you. I have friends who I love so much that are so, so, so far away from me. It's your ability to, there's still friendship breakups that I have in my life that I still extend so much love to, even though I don't talk to them, I'm not in contact with them, and I understand the pain of it, but it's like I love this person so much that if I stayed in this relationship with them, it it would have made us so unhappy and so miserable and caused so much more conflict that I would rather set them free. And that's what I'm saying. It's like a selfless act of being able to set yourself aside. That I know that if I were to remain here, I would end up resenting you. I would end up, just being so upset with you all the time. I'd end up hating you because you bring out the worst in me. And I love you too much to let you be the villain in the story. I love you too much to turn what we have into something monstrous. And that's why I'm willing to step aside. That's why I'm willing to allow breathing room. That's why I'm willing to, all of that kind of stuff, because it's like, I care about you so much that I cannot, in good faith, I cannot now start speaking about you in a bad way to other people. I cannot start thinking about you in a terrible way. It's just, if I recognize that this isn't working for our peace, for our sanity, and because I love you, let us let us separate and all the rest. Love is hard. Love is hard. I love hearing when people say, oh, you make it so easy to love you and all the rest. I'm not saying that if it's easy then it's not love, but what I'm saying is very often it is a difficult pursuit. It is a difficult commitment, especially because, as I keep saying, it's not self-serving. And so it's not something where you get the most pleasure out of it. In fact, you get pleasure out of being in service to somebody else. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult because you might not understand. You might not, when someone you care about is saying something and you don't understand, why would you do that? Why, all of that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Love operates outside the realm of logic. It might not make comprehensible sense to you that someone you love would do that to you, would say that to you, with this and that. But if you keep trying to apply logic to it, it's too big, too expansive, and too abundant for you to try and measure it, for you to try and put an equation and stuff like that. You have to just accept that because you love this person, you're willing to forgive. You're willing to be understanding. You're willing to extend virtues like patience and all the rest, right? Like the Bible tells us, love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't boast, it's not prideful, and it's just like, even though logically it makes sense for you to blow up, to distance yourself from this person, to let this person go, to whatever it is, to cuss this person out, whatever you feel in your heart, your emotions are telling you to do, because you love this person, you're willing to actually be like, you know what? It might take some time, but I forgive you. I might not understand it, but I'm going to trust you. I might not feel like I get what's going on here, but because I love you, I'm going to have faith. And faith, right, is like being able to have hope for things unseen. It's being able to believe in things unseen, and it's just saying, you know what, because I love you. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard. It's difficult to be able, because like our brains are always trying to rationalize things. It's always trying to make sense of things. It's trying to bring logic to things, so that you can understand why you're doing certain things and all of that. But I think when you just kind of surrender that control, you understand love a lot better. When you stop trying to understand it so well, or like bring sense to it, or measure it, or whatever it is, I think that's when you really start to experience the fullness and the wholeness of love, because it's so big and it's so this and it's so, as I said, it's expansive and it's abundant. That's like the best part about love. It exists in everything and anything. It's all around you. You just have to open your heart to receive it. You have to open your heart to let it in, to let it fill you up. And it takes up so many different forms. And so I think that if you keep trying to use logic to justify certain things about love, I think you might find yourself in a really sticky and difficult place. Rather just be like open-minded to it, embrace it, feel it, and just allow it to move you. Allow love to just bring joy to your life. As I said, even though it's a duty and a responsibility and all of that, it doesn't make it a negative thing. It is beautiful because of that. Love is so beautiful because it will save you. It's so beautiful because it will heal you. It's so beautiful because it will show up for you. It'll be understanding towards you. It'll extend grace towards you. And even though sometimes we may be hurt by love, I think time and time again, love will be the very thing that will redeem you and bring you back to healing, breathe you back to life. As always, I'm sending my love. Goodbye.
What in the 20s is going
In the
on?
20s,
Think about
yes.
the 20s.
The 20s,
What
baby.
in the 20s?
Plenty.
What in the 20s is
I
going
am
on?
here for my 20s, baby.
This is the 20s.